Hi, welcome, and welcome back, and thanks for joining us. If this is your first time, I'm Tara Becker, and I'm here thrilled to be with you today. We have something very special. Let me introduce Sharon Hart, and where she shares with us all kinds of guidance from her experience and tools that we're going to get today to help us, us moms with children of neurodivergence. So, without further ado, Sharon, please tell us a little more about yourself, please, and how you came to be here.
Well, I'm really excited to be talking about this topic today. We're gonna, I've been sharing quite a bit about my story about my son and how he has non-speaking autism, but he writes as a way to let me know what he's thinking and feeling. He types. And he has written a play, and I've talked a lot about the play and the book and the two feature films that are in creation. And now I want to talk to you about some of the real practicalities about what you can do. It's still going to involve some of the things that have happened for me as an example for you. But I think that you're going to get a lot out of it. And I'm excited to share it with you.
Well, that's great, Sharon. And so I guess the first question, at least on my mind, and I'm sure our viewers and our audience here, how can parents shift their mindset from seeing autism and as something to be fixed to understanding it's just something different and a valid way of thinking? And how does this change the way they approach parenting this child?
Well, I want to start with saying when your child has these kinds of neurological challenges, neurodiversity, autism, special needs, as a parent, it's hard, especially at first. It's still hard later on, but it gets a little easier. But at first, it's, it looks like something that has to be fixed. And I want to applaud all of you who are working hard to help your child to function better in the world in every way that you can. And for those of us who have children with autism, little things are hard to achieve. So let's just celebrate that you're trying and that you care and that you want to, and that you want your child to be able to have a really good life and be happy and have some level of success. And we've been talking about that. Tara and I have been talking about our children with neurodivergence and how they have been really successful in the world. One is now an animator. One is now is a playwright and a lyricist. And actually, he's also an author. And the other one has made enormous gains in sales and business, and is doing better than many of his peers, despite the challenges he had. And I can tell you, when I was sitting and homeschooling my children, I thought there was no way they were going to be successful. So first thing is, you have to look at your children who have these challenges and say, I don't know how it's going to happen, but I'm going to believe that somehow this child is going to make it. And is going to have a good life and is going to make a contribution. Excuse me. I feel a little cold. Anyway, the first thing to realize is that your children's brains are wired differently. And for those of you who are new to this, what really helped me at the beginning was sort of thinking like if you took a house and you rewired it so that when you push the dishwasher button, the lights turn on. Or if you open the garage door, the air conditioner goes on. So their wiring is different. And at first, this seems like a deficit as a parent. How's your kid going to function like that? But over time, some of these things that look like problems, which which in many ways remain problems, also have advantages. I'm going to talk about my son who has dyslexia first here, and just say that he has dyslexia, but he has a little bit of a tendency to over focus on things. He got very interested in anything that moved when he was little, and he got very interested in cars. And he is the number one expert in my area. Okay, I'm a proud mom, I get to say it that way. In every aspect of these cars, these high-end cars, he knows every detail. And that is now a gift. People who want those expensive cars want to know why I'm getting this one and not that one, and how this could, fulfill that need. And he has it on the top of his head. So it became a gift. Okay. So, and his reading late made him a very expressive speaker. So he's very good at talking to people about what he's good at. So you don't know. And he had dyslexia at the level of 4 years behind. 4 years behind. You know what that feels like as a mom. Okay, he's in first grade, they're in fifth grade. It's a big leap. But it happened because children have their own way of growing, and they have their own inner resource to grow. So the first thing to understand is that your child is beautiful, you know that. And they have a magnificent soul that sparkles, and as parents, you know that. And this what looks like a deficit, this challenge, does not diminish that essence of who they really are. And so it's about keeping your eye on that magnificence, no matter what else is happening. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is to get really curious how your child's wiring is different. And if you met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. Their wiring systems are different from each other. So it's really about looking to see how your particular child operates differently.
So Sharon, does that actually come into play when, a parent is trying to, well, I guess at some point you're going to call it a battle of wills? Mm-hmm. How might, I know the understanding part, and is there some advice or a tool that you could, share with us about, overcoming that?
Well, there's a battle. Okay, let me spell it this way. So today, we are fortunate that there are a lot of adults who have autism or neurodivergence who can tell us what it's like for them. And some of them have even done TED Talks. It's amazing to get on YouTube and just listen to the TED Talks from these people. It's just mind-blowing. And one of the things they keep saying over and over was they wish their parents understood, and this is the place, that they operate on a different operating system. It's like you can't do Apple and Mac, Apple and PC together. It's like that. You have to come to understand it. And what they found was that their parents kept wanting them to switch operating systems and be able to operate in the world the way us neurotypical people do. And that some of them really got good at it, but at a huge cost for themselves, which was their self-esteem and their sense of how to live in a way that had integrity for how their nervous system worked. And this is important for parents to understand. So first of all, again, I spend a lot of time helping parents to see how to help their children to function in our operating system. So I'm applauding you, and I'm here, and I'm going to help you with that. But at the same time, it's important to understand that if we stay in our operating system and keep pushing them to operate in our operating system, that creates tension in them.
Right.
And thank you. And that tension builds and builds and builds. And that's part of what creates meltdowns. Now, it's not the parents' fault. The kids would have meltdowns anyway, but we contributed to it when we don't understand deeply what it's like for them. And that is very difficult to learn how to do. So if you don't get it yet, that's okay. That's what I'm here to share with you. Because my children are grown and I've been through that process. I know how to look at children from an angle whereby instead of getting into a battle of making them do it your way, they don't know how, they're stuck in their way, and it's a battle all the time.
Well, it's like a win-lose even.
That's a win-lose. The parents win or the parents lose. I mean, the children can win too. I mean, it's a battle. And but to get out of that battle, especially for the ones who can adapt well to our culture, but even, to our way of living, but even for the ones that children who are struggling more, the best place to create a stronger relationship where there's trust, where they can relax. The first thing that's really important is for you to show you're trying to understand, and instead of just trying to get them to follow what you're saying, it's about understanding why they can't do it and helping them find a better way because you understand them better. And then the relationship begins to blossom between you and the child begins to flourish. But this is a whole process. And that's why I do this. It's a process to understand what's going on for your child. And it's a process to see how to understand where they're coming from.
Would it be possible for you to give us an example of how you've adopted to your child's way of thinking that we might then in turn, try for ourselves?
Yeah, well, the one I'm going to tell you, it wasn't like I stopped and figured it out. It was like it just sort of happened. So sometimes you're going to figure it out, and sometimes you're going to go, oh, wow, how did that happen? And so I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you about what. So we decided when we took Jason out in the world to have experiences that other children have, going to the playground, going to the zoo, going on a picnic, all those kinds of things. Well, when you take a child out who has a pretty intensely rewired system, they have a really hard time. So he had a really hard time where most every place we took him. But we took the video camera, back then it was a video camera. We took the video camera and when he was doing pretty good, we took some pictures. So then we would, some movies, some videos. And then we'd go home and we'd put them on the TV and we'd watch them. And I didn't think he would even pay attention to them. Well, he got totally engrossed. He was sitting there watching them over and over and over and over until I couldn't stand hearing it again. And then he still wanted it. So I let him watch. Okay, so I got a little break. He was busy, And then we would go back to the place where he was watching. Let's say it was about the zoo, that he was watching a video about the zoo. Then we went back to the zoo. And the next time we went back, he was happier, like a lot happier. I mean, he was like all smiles, like he got what a zoo was in a big way. It wasn't just a little thing, it was huge. And if we didn't take videos at some place, and we went back there, he didn't do better the second time. So there was something in the videos that was helping him understand what was going on. So for a long time, I didn't know what it was, but we just kept doing it because it was helping his nervous system. Somehow that was communicating to him in a way that his nervous system understood. But I didn't know what it was about till he got older. And then Jason is non-speaking, but he is able to talk to me and tell me what he's thinking and feeling by typing. So one day I turned around to him and I said, Jason, do you remember when we used to make movies? You used to watch the movies and we used to take you places and you did so much better. What was that about? I really don't know why that worked so well. And he gave me this long explanation and I realized that his way of looking at life was so different than mine. It was like a leap. It was like I thought this was happening and something else was happening. So what was happening was when he he told me that when he was really little, especially, but when he was really little, none of the sensations made sense. There were so many of them, he couldn't figure out what an object was. He couldn't figure out what a word was, a symbol, a person. He didn't make any sense of that. He told me that. He said it all didn't make sense, but pictures made sense, and videos made sense, and photographs made sense. So he looked at all those pictures and photographs and said to himself, is that what's really happening out there? And he'd study and look at it, and then we'd go and he'd say, oh, that's what they're doing. They're looking at animals. I can see an animal. And he'd be so happy because he figured out how to find things in our world. I mean, it was so amazing that he sees the world so different. I mean, most of us go and have fun, and then we watch a movie. We don't watch a movie to figure out what reality is about. But that's how different their nervous systems can be.
Well, it's almost like you were talking about that, life is three-dimensional, where a video or a photograph, even cartoons, are only two-dimensional. So when you were explaining this and how he got excited when he went back to the zoo, I was with him when he was experiencing that, just by you sharing that. Because to understand what they're really going through, that's such a gift.
Yeah. And I didn't get it, but eventually I got it. But
Right.
It's about looking for places where we can build a bridge between neurodivergence and neurotypical. Now, many children, it's not that far away, but Jason is a good example to help you see. And one of the things I do with parents in my workshops, my intensive, my retreats, is I work with parents to help them try to see where this opening is, because this is where the opening is. I'm really glad you got it, Tara. Yeah, it is. The 3D, 2D thing is really what it's about. And not, I don't know that many people with autism have the 2D, 3D thing where he understands two-dimensional and three-dimensional is hard. But I'm sure there's a lot of different ways that autism.
I'm sure. I mean, because I'm sure it's unique to every individual.
Well,
right?
Your son has that too, because drawing was a way that he could understand the world.
Exactly. And and what a gift that was. And I am grateful that I didn't talk him out of it. Yeah. So now you mentioned your program, and that's called, what is that called again? I'm sorry.
Discover Your Worth.
Nice, beautiful.
And it's a program where you have access to me, and Tara's my assistant, and we have a staff of people supporting you, but it's set up totally different than the way most workshops and classes are set up, because our lives are affected by neurodivergence. So for us, going to a Zoom call is really hard.
Right.
Because our kids are interrupting us. If we manage to get our hand up, we might have to go help them. And by the time we come back, there's no question. We can't get a chance to ask the question.
Getting away for 30 or 60 minutes can be a challenge.
Yeah. And going for a therapy session where you're going to find somebody to watch your child so that you can go. I mean, it's hard. So we created something new, and it's affordable. And what we created is that you can message me by audio, by video, and there's a way to text too, but we want it to be more interactive so that you really feel supported. And we do these sort of mini coaching sessions, or we take a question, group it with some other questions from other parents and people who take care of people with special needs, like grandparents. And it's a way for people to get the support they need. And Discover Your Worth is the initial program where you get started. And it's a 4-day program. It starts on a Monday and goes to a Thursday. Monday night goes to Thursday. And during that time, you can send me a video. You can send me an audio, and you can send my staff a text any time of day or night. Okay, they're short. You can't do it too long because it can't serve everybody with too much to input. But we do the very best we can to answer you in time. so that you can begin to implement these things in your life. Because you go to a summit, you get all kinds of information. It takes you a month to listen to it, but you get all kinds of information. And then how do you apply it? So this is how you can apply what I'm talking about. So here's the good news. Ready? It's $27 for the first 4 days. I want you all to have a chance to have this kind of support.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Oh, thank you, Sharon. That's so generous of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm excited to share it, and I'm excited to have people to see the kinds of changes that people can make. I mean, I call it discover your worth, because you begin to see that you're doing so much better than you realized.
Right.
Because you can think you're failing, and that doesn't mean you are.
Correct.
So let's get you on the right track and knowing that you're a good parent.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about being wired, our brain, about our neurodivergent children's brains are wired differently than neurotypical brains. But let's, talk about another topic that usually comes up, and how they experience emotions differently, and what parents can do to find a sense of peace and support for their children when these emotions can become overwhelming. So what have you learned about your autistic child, how he actually experiences emotions differently from neurotypical people?
So on an emotional level, okay, let's start here. So think for a moment, or connect for a moment, into remember for a moment when you felt sad, and what kinds of physical sensations you felt when you were sad. I mean, you can feel, some strange feelings in your face, and maybe behind your eyes, maybe your chest, you cave in and your chest a little bit. There's physical sensations that go with emotions, with fear, with sadness, with anger. There's all kinds of physical sensations. And what is important for parents to understand, and this is going to be a big one, but what parents need to understand is it's not just the bright lights. It's not just the loud noises. It's not just the change, the change of event, the transition. It's how the physical sensations that go with emotions are impacting someone with autism. When people have autism, these physical sensations that go with their emotions are more intense than what we feel. More intense, or sometimes less intense, but often more intense. So although they look, people with autism can look very, like they're not feeling anything, it can be exactly the opposite. Inside, they can have enormous intensity, and not only to their feelings, but they can also tune into what other people are feeling. They can have empathy for what other people are feeling. So the important thing here is to understand, the first thing to understand is that when a child is having a meltdown, they're having a meltdown because their senses are overwhelmed externally, but also their emotional sensations are overwhelmed. They're coming on so strong that they don't know what to do. And that's part of how they melt down. So that's the first thing, is beginning to understand their feelings are more intense than yours, even though it doesn't look that way many times. And then other times, their emotions are all over the place, and you're going, what's going on? How do I deal with this? So that's the place to start.
Well, and then how might a parent then, or how did you respond when Jason was overwhelmed with the emotion?
Well, I'm going to start when he was little, because I think it's really important to say, when Jason was doing this, was having these intense experiences of not being able to cope. I mean, for him, the first one I remember is he cried nonstop. Colic was over, and he just couldn't stop crying. And later on, he told me it was because the sensations actually hurt until he could make sense of them. So the first place is when they start having those feelings, it's gonna trigger you. It's not that you are not being a good parent and trying to help them in every way you can. It's that the intensity of what they're feeling makes you feel, or me in that, as an initial parent, I felt scared. How am I going to deal with this? How is this going to end? And angry, why do I have to do this? And sad, why does my child have to go through this? So there's all these feelings that come up, and they are really intense for the parent. And everybody's trying to help the child, which is wonderful. The children need help. But how are we supposed to cope with that? What the experts say is stay calm while your child's having a meltdown. Okay, so as parents, we stay calm, and we succeed a lot. We succeed in places many people wouldn't, because we love our children so much. But this is a lifelong event, having a child with autism. It isn't a week, it isn't a day, it's your life. So, of course, we have moments where staying calm doesn't seem to be happening. Hey, you're still a good parent. This is hard. And this isn't because you're not a good parent and you're not doing the right things. This is because when they have a meltdown, it triggers our emotions. So what are we going to do about that? That's part of what the Discover Your Worth program is about. It's about how do you help them by helping yourself. So, when Jason was little, I would say to him, it's going to be okay. Don't worry. It's fine. I would try everything I could, everything I could think of, a cookie, a pinwheel, whatever I could find to try to help him. But none of those things worked very well. So I was left feeling a lot like, how can I be a special ed teacher and a psychotherapist and have so much trouble helping my child? Hey, if I could feel that way, I'm sure you feel that way, and it's okay. So that's the beginning phase.
And then, so what changed in how you approached Jason's emotions?
Well, I started to realize that I was having a hard time when he was having these meltdowns, and that I needed to find a way to disengage a little bit, because the more we were cycling each other, the more intense his nervous system got, the more the meltdown would happen. The more the meltdown happened, the more I got triggered. The more I got triggered, the more he felt unsafe, and we would just cycle each other. Yeah. So I said, okay, how can I stop this cycle? And it was like, well, I can't control what's happening for him. I only can control what's happening for me. And then I realized I had no idea what was happening for me. I was so busy focusing on him, I didn't know what I was going through. So I found that if I stood back and didn't just say, calm down. Okay, I did some of the calm down. I did that for a lot too. But I started looking at, okay, what's going on for me? This sadness, this fear, this anger that's coming up. What can I do for me? And okay, so now there's a whole lot of space and time and work and on myself, my own inner growth. There's all kinds of things I can share with you. But the next stage that happened was that I worked on myself enough that I wasn't triggered by him so easily. Then it was easier to stay calm while he was having the meltdown. Okay, not always easy, but kept getting easier and easier and easier. And when that happened, I could watch what was happening for him and get really curious about what it was like for him. Then I started finding things to say to him that actually started to change, so that he didn't have to have the meltdown so much. So now he doesn't have them so much. They still happen some, but I found a way to get through it, in a lot of ways, by finding how to be at peace and how to have some inner happiness, even when what was going on outside with him wasn't working. And then that helped me to help him. And then that helped me to help him bring out his incredible gift.
Wow. I just got to give it to you, Sharon. My son didn't have the severity of these situations, and I don't even know what I would have done. And so I just am so grateful you're sharing all of your expertise that actually you experienced and put into place. And, I totally get, well, first of all, we all shove down our emotions anyway. And it's really an eye opener to see these children who express them to almost the nth degree. And then how you realize that, if you're not triggered, then you can be calm in the situation, and then not, like you were saying before, have that vicious cycle where nobody's getting anywhere. So please, could you give some advice to the other parents who want to find that deeper sense of peace when their child is overwhelmed?
Well, first of all, thank you for celebrating this journey with me. That means a lot to me, Tara. And so it's about having the courage to say, okay, maybe I don't know what's going on with my child. I mean, I know better than anybody else. I'm a parent, but I didn't have a childhood like this child is. I need to learn something about how they're functioning differently. And it's about getting curious. It's about wanting to learn. And it's about when these strong feelings come up in you, getting curious about how you can give yourself some nourishment and support that maybe you didn't get in your childhood. Not because our parents didn't try hard or were wonderful people, but just because times were different and people didn't know some of these tools that we have now about how to comfort yourself and be there for yourself on an emotional level. And so, what I do is it's a balance. I help you with your child, and I help you to get through what you're going through as well, because you can't just do one or the other. It's about both. And when you do that, it begins to create this much better relationship where you truly can say the following. I say the following to my son every day. Okay, maybe there's exceptions, but almost every day. I go into his room and I say, "Hi, Jason. I am so happy that you are here. I am so glad you're my son." And if you told me when Jason was teeny that I would ever say that every day to my son, I would have said you're crazy. But I do, I really do it. And it makes, I really believe it. I really feel that way. But I wouldn't feel that way if I hadn't had this opportunity to go deeper into myself and deeper into him and to create a better understanding. And the most amazing thing is, it's not only going to help you with him, it helps every area of your life. It's going to help parenting the other children. It's going to help your relationship. And it may even give you a chance to have a career, even while you're taking care of children with this kind of challenge. Because right now, Jason's in the other room. I'm here, but he's right there. So I just want to give you some hope that when it seems like there isn't any, that there is a way. And that's what my Discover Your Worth program is about. And, we're going to provide the link. If you're watching the live, you can probably.
And what is that link? Can you just share it with us?
It's kind of a little complicated. I think you have to, you have to find it in the blurb.
Okay.
And click on it. Also,
so we'll put that up for people watching. What that link is.
Yeah, and we'll put it in the comments.
Yes. And it really sounds like your Discover Your Worth. I mean, not only does it work for what your child needs, but also for the parent, about their inner journey. And gosh, I mean, this would work for anybody who wants to nurture their own their own emotional well-being and learn what these triggers are. But again, how it could make the parent of these special children. That's our gift. That's the gift we receive from them. And discovering that is priceless.
Well, I want to say this, excuse me, both about, losing my voice, both about the parents and about people who are just inspired by our story, is that challenging times, they increase the pressure and the temperature. And if you think about a diamond, the way a diamond is formed is it's ordinary carbon under intense pressure and intense temperature, which is what our children with autism do so well for us. They give us this great gift, and it turns us into diamonds. And this is true whether you have a child with autism or it's something else in your life, like, somebody you love died, or somebody who's close to you died, or you have an illness and you're concerned, or you had a business that you lost, whatever it might be. Those kinds of challenges put us up against the edge. Autism does it extremely well for parents, but there's other things. But that's part of why I want to work with this audience, is that, okay, I'm going to say one more thing that's maybe a little intense, but for some of you, it might feel like a big release. And that's that at 33, when I had my son, there was a way that a lot of my life ended. A lot of what I thought I would do in my life, it just wasn't going to happen. I had to deal with this child, or I had to put the child in an institution and let it go, which I wasn't going to do. Just break my heart. So, lost train of thought there. Where was I?
You were talking about.
Okay. So thank you. That's all I needed. Was that, in a way, my life ended very much, my expectations of what my life was going to be like ended in very much the way a person who's 80 or 90 who goes into a nursing home where their life ends. It was like that. It impacted every aspect of my life. And so I had to let go of who I thought I was going to be, find a way to enjoy my life in the present, and allow that temperature and pressure to mold me into something, take off everything that all my misconceptions until I could let my essence shine. And that's what I'm inviting you to do. So even if you don't have a child with special needs, if you're a homeschool mom of typical kids, or you're a grandmother and your child has special needs, but your life is pretty good, it's like, it's okay to come and join us from whatever angle, your life is facing. It's an example of how do you live life to the fullest, no matter what's before you.
Right. No matter what obstacles or challenges, come on your journey, and it's how we handle those. And, I can totally relate to, I did not have that severe of a feeling or an emotion, but I know when I've been on the wrong track, something comes up to, give me that detour sign.
Yeah.
And then life is even better than could ever be expected.
Yes. And what I'm very much that, and what I'm talking about with autism is it's that when you have a child with autism that's more severe, or you have a big event in your life that's intense, it closes all the doors to happiness that you're used to using to find joy in your life. Mm-hmm. So the question is, how do you do it when all those doors closed? That's what I'm talking about. And I want to let you know that Tara is also part of the team, and she'll be here to help you in the Discover Your Worth program too. And I'm really excited to have you come and join us. I made it very inexpensive, even though it's very time consuming, and it's going to be an amazing program. I just really wanted to make a door opening so that no matter where you are financially, there's a place and a time where you can get some of that support. Yeah. So if you're watching the video, it should be in the comments or in the blurb, and reach out, sign up for Discover Your Worth. And
we look forward to seeing you there, and then in the program. So Everyone, please thank you for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing you again.
We'll be doing more lives.
Lots of those.
Lots of those. Take care now.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.